Blood churned beneath a shattered sky, and in that crimson tide, alliances dissolved as swiftly as they were forged. Trust was a luxury none of them could afford, and tonight it would be paid for in souls. If you enjoy my way of explaining and storytelling, please consider supporting us through the donation. It really motivates us to keep creating. Following the colossal wolf's descent into this world, Han Li and the others closed in step by measured step, around a lone silhouette bathed in a sinister crimson glow. The four of them fixed their gazes upon the figure hostility laid bare and undisguised. At a distance, the silver-winged night fiend and the lion hawk merely watched aloof and wary, unwilling to entangle themselves in the brewing conflict. Fellow Taoists, why do you encircle me so? I have done nothing to offend you. The crimson radiance dimmed, revealing a man of about 50 years. His features mild and almost benevolent, Master Scatterwind. Yet his eyes betrayed him, darting wildly from one cultivator to another like a cornered beast seeking escape. Why did you skulk about so furtively the moment you arrived? Grand Immortal Shu said coolly. If you harbor no sinister intent, then surely you must have come here with some other scheme. Fellow Taoist Jests Scatterwind replied hastily, words tumbling over one another. I entered knowing full well how many experts had gathered here. Unable to discern friend from foe, is it not only prudent to tread carefully? Is that so? Lin Yinping arched a delicate brow, her expression darkening. Then why did you conceal yourself at my side? Your movement techniques are truly exquisite. Had the keen spirit peacock's light not brushed past you, I fear you would still be lurking in the shadows. You misunderstand, that was... Scatterwind forced a smile, eager to explain, but Han Li's voice cut through the air like a blade of ice. Before I entered the pagoda, was it not you who attacked me? He said coldly. When you fled, I caught a glimpse of your back, and that malevolent blood, chi faint but unmistakable, still clings to you. That vicious blade of yours must have devoured the nascent souls of many cultivators. Along the way, I saw all those who entered with you. His lips curved faintly. All of them were dead. Grand Immortal Shu and Lin Yinping felt a chill creep into their hearts. Scatterwind's smile stiffened. He shook his head vehemently. Fellow Taoist Han must be mistaken. There is no blood chi upon me. I am but a wandering cultivator. How could I possess a heaven-defying treasure capable of slaying peers of the same realm? To accuse me so lightly without proof, surely that is unjust. Proof? Han Li's expression turned glacial, his voice sharp as winter wind. Those corpses are proof enough. With that, he opened his mouth and expelled an inch-long golden blade, which streaked forth in a flash of blinding light aimed directly at Scatterwind. Grand Immortal Shu and Lin Yinping exchanged a brief glance, but neither moved to intervene. Mercy, this is a misunderstanding. Scatterwind cried, panic flashing across his face. He flicked his sleeve, and a blue flying sword shot forth to meet Han Li's attack. The two blades clashed mid-air, weaving and darting like living serpents. Explosions of force rippled outward bursts of light, tearing through the air in violent pulses. Han Li sneered softly. Forming an incantation gesture with one hand, he poured spiritual power into his sword. Golden radiance erupted, dazzling and fierce. The blue blade let out a mournful cry before shattering into fragments that rained upon the ground. Alarmed Scatterwind raised his arm. An azure shield materialized before him, but it too was torn apart without resistance beneath the relentless sweep of golden sword light. Even Grand Immortal Shu's brow lifted slightly at the display. Auric essence was a material rarely seen in this world. The terrifying sharpness of Han Li's flying sword stirred deep vigilance within him. Seizing the opening, the golden streak descended once more, cleaving towards Scatterwind's head. A flicker of white light flared beneath Scatterwind's feet, and he shot backward in desperate retreat. Yet in the next instant, a swirl of black and white light appeared before him, Gui Ling blocking his path. Shock flashed across Scatterwind's face. He twisted his body and veered aside. But Immortal Shu stepped in as well, cutting off his escape and forcing him to a halt. In that brief delay, Golden light gathered above his head, humming ominously as it split into a multitude of identical copies. Realizing it was too late to evade, fury flared across Scatterwind's face. With a sweep of his sleeve, a streak of crimson shot forth. It collided with the descending sword lights, scattering them in all directions and even forcing the original golden blade back several meters. The crimson streak quivered, then multiplied into over a dozen copies, each pursuing the golden sword in relentless assault. A series of sharp clangs rang out in rapid succession. Crimson radiance engulfed the golden blade, and the air grew thick with the heavy stench of blood and death. Even seasoned cultivators such as themselves felt their brows furrow at the oppressive scent. Hanli narrowed his eyes, yet his expression remained composed, as though he harbored not the slightest concern for his treasured blade. Grand Immortal Shu stared at him in astonishment. Was that not his soul-bound magic treasure? Scatterwind, too, sensed something amiss. With a grim expression, he pointed upward. The crimson light withdrew, circling above his head before revealing its true form, a half-foot-long scarlet blade, wreathed in a faint mist of blood. "So it was you," Han Li said calmly, examining the weapon. "That is a replica of the Devil Dragon blade, is it not?" At the mention of that name, the others visibly stiffened. Even the demonic beings could not conceal their surprise. Scatterwind offered no reply. Instead, he gazed at Han Li's golden sword in stunned disbelief. After enduring such a barrage of strikes, not even the faintest scratch marred its surface. "Do not trouble yourself," Han Li said with a faint smile, raising his hand to recall the blade. "My flying sword is somewhat special. Even were your blade stronger, still destroying it would remain an impossibility." "You do not intend to kill me?" Scatterwind asked, utterly bewildered. "Kill you?" Han Li's smile turned thin and cold. "You have slain no one dear to me, and I have no intention of avenging strangers. If you are not the person I suspect, then killing you serves no purpose. On the contrary, since you wield such a formidable treasure, we may yet form an alliance." Fellow Taoist Han means Grand Immortal Shu began faintly discerning his intent. "If we wish to leave this place, brute force may be our only option," Han Li said somberly. "Though the Black Wind flag is a genuine divine spirit treasure, the devil ancestor is distracted and unable to unleash its full might. If we concentrate our attacks upon a single point of the seal, we may stand a chance of shattering it. Having once been trapped within the spirit ether garden after the events of Devilfall Valley, Han Li understood well the despair of confinement. Admittedly, success would depend upon locating a weak point in the seal. Yet with so many nascent soul cultivators gathered together, their combined power might suffice even without one. After a brief silence, Grand Immortal Shu nodded slowly. "Fellow Taoist Han's reasoning is sound. What say you, Night Fiend?" The silver-winged Night Fiend studied Scatterwind for a long moment, something unreadable flickering in his gaze. "That blade of his is indeed formidable. If it can carve a path out of here, then we should at least attempt it." Hanli inclined his head and turned to Scatterwind. "You have heard us. What is your stance? Aid us in breaking the seal, and you aid yourself. Surely you do not wish for that devil to devour your nascent soul." Scatterwind's face remained placid, yet his eyes shifted subtly as he weighed the proposal. "At the very least," he said at last, "once we depart, we each go our separate ways. There will be no settling of old scores." Grand Immortal Shu snorted coldly. "We have long suffered at the hands of the righteous Tao. So long as you harbor no intent to act against us, who would waste effort seeking trouble with you," Scatterwind smiled faintly. "Very well. Were those fellows of the High Zenith sect present, I might hesitate. But under these circumstances, I have no reason to refuse." Han Li felt a flicker of surprise at how swiftly the agreement was reached. They then turned to discussing their strategy. To shatter the seal imprisoning them, they would need to unleash the greatest force possible, but not in reckless unison. With so many disparate techniques, colliding disorder might well blunt their own power. After some deliberation, Immortal Shu glanced toward Han Li. "Fellow Taoist Han, if I recall correctly, you have an ally concealed nearby." Will you not invite him to join our discussion? His flying saber is exceptionally powerful. The Night Fiend and the others all shifted their gazes to Han Li. Inwardly, Han Li cursed Immortal Shu's sharpness, yet his expression remained calm and aloof. Rest assured, that Taoist will assist us when the time comes. It is not convenient for him to reveal himself, now his techniques make such appearances troublesome. Though displeased, Immortal Shu did not press further. After witnessing Han Li annihilate the two-headed elder devil with such unfathomable methods, he dared not provoke him. He merely ended the matter with a muted snort. Ever since agreeing to the alliance, Master Scatterwind had worn a light, almost playful smile. Yet when he observed the subtle tension between Han Li and Grand Immortal Shu, a cold glint flickered deep within his eyes. At that very moment, his expression shifted ever so slightly. He lowered his head as if lost in contemplation, concealing his features in shadow. In truth, his lips moved faintly, transmitting words through secret voice to another present. Moments later, he lifted his head once more, a radiant smile spreading across his face, though none seemed to notice. Behind his back, his hand subtly transformed. Dense white fur sprouted along it, each strand several inches long, stiff and sharp as needles. The white fur that had sprouted from Master Scatterwind's arm withdrew in the span of a breath, vanishing as though it had never existed. When he resumed speaking, his tone was steady, his expression genial. To any onlooker, nothing at all had occurred. Almost no one noticed, nor did anyone perceive the faint ripple that passed through Han Li's eyes as he discreetly sent a slender thread of spiritual sense into one of his spirit beast pouches. Within, the soul-weeping beast stirred restlessly, its emotions seething. Han Li soothed it with silent words, even as his own thoughts churned like dark waters beneath a placid surface. Outwardly, however, his bearing remained unshaken, his voice calm and measured. By the time it would take to finish a cup of tea, their plan was settled. Without further delay, they scattered like drifting shadows, each producing formation plates and spell flags. Formation tools clinked softly against stone as they were set into place. Spiritual light flickered, lines of power weaving into the ground as spell formations took shape, each one designed to wring out every last drop. Of offensive might, Han Li and Grand Immortal Ju worked side by side, laying down the Windfire Dragon formation. Though it could not compare to the truly grand arrays of ancient legend, it was the most formidable offensive formation they could erect in haste. It was said that once activated, it could unleash a strike comparable to a full-powered blow from a late nascent soul cultivator, wielding an ordinary magic treasure. Half an hour later, the formations were complete. Each cultivator stood at the heart of their respective arrays, taking command. Han Li and Grand Immortal Shu jointly presided over the Windfire Dragon formation. It was almost laughable, two sworn enemies bound by circumstance into a fragile alliance, stitched together by necessity. Grand Immortal Shu gazed at the grey mist barrier hemming them in. Lifting his hand, he released a sphere of white light. It shot forward and struck the wall with a dull thud. Instead of bursting, it adhered there, hovering and sparkling faintly, a clear marker. In a moment, he said flatly, "All attacks will focus on this point." No one objected. Silence was their assent. He cast Han Li a glance and gave a slight nod. Han Li responded with the faintest smile. Without another word, he formed a hand seal. His fingers flickered like swift shadows, releasing one spell seal after another. In an instant, dozens of formations across the ground began to hum and glow. Grand Immortal Shu inhaled shallowly. A fire-red glow ignited in his palm. He pressed it to the earth and crimson light surged outward, activating the formation plates buried deep below. The air trembled. Then from the ground, a dozen pillars of crimson flame erupted skyward. Each was as thick as a man's thigh, radiating such searing heat that the very air seemed to combust. At the same moment, Han Li flipped his hand, revealing a faint azure formation plate. He struck it with his other palm. It shimmered violently. Within the spell formation, blue winds gathered and condensed, coalescing into a dozen flood dragons. With a sharp incantation, they surged toward the pillars of flame. Wind met fire. In that union, the two forces intertwined and transformed. 12 colossal wind flame flood dragons took shape, blazing with infernal intensity and propelled by the boundless momentum of storm winds. When the dragons fully manifested, Grand Immortal Shu's eyes flared. Attack! He spat out an azure pearl. Above it, the keen spirit peacock beat its wings, unleashing a wave of rainbow light that tore through the air with breathtaking speed. The others followed in rapid succession. Spell formations flared. Treasures were unleashed. Techniques erupted in chaotic brilliance. The heavens and earth seemed to shudder. Explosions thundered without cease. Blinding radiance burst again and again, each collision releasing terrifying force that caused the entire space to quake. Han Li swept his sleeve. Dozens of flying swords shot into the sky. In the blink of an eye, they multiplied, transforming into a storm of several hundred swordlights. When the others felt the sharpness emanating from them, remembering how easily his blade had shredded defenses, earlier their expressions subtly shifted. The weight of their wariness toward him deepened. Unconcerned, Han Li formed another seal. The swarm of swordlights condensed, merging into a single colossal golden sword over 30 meters long. A final spell seal struck it. Golden lightning arced along its surface. Thunder rolled. Yet Han Li did not immediately unleash it. Instead, he tossed the azure formation plate into the air. As it hovered, he struck it at several points in rapid succession. Each touch sent a tremor through the plate until with a muffled burst it began to erode, dissolving into a rain of azure light that poured down into the formation below. Empowered anew, the formation flags blazed brilliantly. The 12 wind flame flood dragons roared as their bodies swelled several-fold. With claws bared and fangs flashing, they charged in single file toward the marked point. One after another they struck. The grey mist barrier quivered violently. The surface warped and twisted under the relentless assault. When the final dragon detonated against the wall, the residual wind and fire condensed into a massive sphere. Crimson light flashed through it, and in the next instant, it transformed into a gigantic blade that cleaved down upon the same spot. A brittle shattering sound rang out like breaking glass. A crack 3 meters long and a foot deep split across the wall. But even as it appeared, black light pulsed from within the barrier, seeking to mend the damage. Seeing this, the other cultivators unleashed a frenzied barrage of attacks, suppressing the recovery with sheer force. Only then did Han Li move. The colossal golden sword descended like a bolt of heavenly lightning, striking directly into the fissure. Golden radiance exploded outward, as though a miniature sun had been born within the crack. The fissure widened instantly, burrowing several times deeper. The power of this single strike eclipsed all their previous attacks combined. Even Han Li was momentarily stunned. The divine Devilbane lightning. It seemed to restrain the barrier. Could it be that the Black Wind flag was truly a Devil Dao spirit treasure? Before he could dwell further, the golden light faded, revealing beyond the seal a thin barrier of white light. Joy surged through the group. Yet before anyone else could act, an inch-long blade appeared soundlessly before the crack. It blurred once. A final thunderous explosion resounded. The thin white barrier flickered with black light and shattered completely, revealing a 10-meter-wide opening that led to a familiar scene beyond. Relief washed over them. In a flash of silver, a silhouette appeared before the breach and passed through. First, it was Han Li's humanoid puppet. The others who had hesitated were jolted into motion. Without further thought, they employed their teleportation techniques and rushed toward the opening. Silver wings unfurled behind Han Li, yet he did not immediately follow. A strange expression flickered across his face. His lips moved faintly. Guiling, who had already arrived before the breach, in a streak of black and white light, halted abruptly, confusion filling her eyes as she noticed his delay. In that heartbeat of hesitation, Grand Immortal Shu and the others surged through the opening. Then, crimson light erupted from beyond. Countless black threads tore through the air and lashed into the breach. Shouts of alarm rang out from Grand Immortal Shu and Lin Yin Ping. A deafening explosion followed. Dense blood qi exploded outward, enveloping Master Scatterwind, who now wore a chilling, sinister smile. "Go," Han Li shouted sharply. Without the slightest pause, he transformed into a streak of silver lightning and shot through the opening. Guiling, still bewildered, clenched her teeth and followed. The moment Han Li emerged beyond the seal, his surroundings were swallowed by a roiling sea of blood qi. But golden lightning crackled across his body, forming a barrier that held the corrosive force at bay. He halted and turned, brows slightly raised. The breach behind him was already shrinking. A vast ocean of blood qi churned around it, filling the air with a sour, nauseating stench. Above the seal hovered three figures: the silver-winged night fiend, the lion hawk, and a towering monster cloaked in white fur. The creature wore Master Scatterwind's robes. Its body reeked of dense corpse qi. It turned its head. Eyes burned with eerie green flames. White fur covered a shriveled face. Sharp fangs protruded from cracked lips. The genial cultivator was gone. In his place stood something monstrous. The creature manipulated the blood sea and its scarlet blade with chilling ease, suppressing a lone figure struggling to escape. That figure was grievously maimed, one arm and one leg severed. With desperate fury, he wielded an azure pearl and a silver hook, fending off the encroaching crimson light and corrosive blood qi. Grand Immortal Shu. Hatred contorted his face. Not far away, the keen spirit peacock was trapped within a rigid purple mist, conjured by the lion hawk, struggling merely to preserve its life. As for Lin Yin Ping, she was ensnared within a storm of ghost fiend threads cast by the night fiend. Only the extraordinary power of her embroidered silkworm scarf, matching thread for thread, kept her from immediate capture. But her fall was only a matter of time. Thanks to Han Li's earlier warning, Guiling had escaped the trap. Her gaze locked onto the white-furred monster. Shock flooded her features. "It's him," she cried. "What do you recognize that corpse?" Han Li asked, his gaze still fixed ahead, not bothering to turn. Guiling hesitated only briefly before answering in a low voice. "For now, yes." Han Li finally tilted his head slightly. "For now. Before he became a refined corpse, he was a spirit beast," she explained quietly. "We were acquainted in the past. His master was a human cultivator who descended from the spirit realm. After Kunwu Mountain was sealed, I never saw him again. I do not know how he ended up like this." A ripple passed through Han Li's expression. "You mean he was originally a demon beast from the spirit realm?" "That's right." Guiling sighed faintly. "When cultivators and demons descend into the mortal realm, their cultivation is suppressed by restrictions. Spirit beasts that accompany them, like myself, have their original memories erased." Han Li's heart trembled. "So, you remember nothing?" For a fleeting instant, hope had flared within him, the hope that she might illuminate even a fragment of the spirit realm's secrets. That flame was extinguished just as swiftly. "Apart from knowing my origin, everything else is blank," Guiling replied, sorrow clouding her eyes. Han Li fell silent. Silvermoon's figure surfaced in his thoughts. Her identity was far from ordinary. Perhaps she still retained memories of the spirit realm. His heart stirred, but he forcefully suppressed that curiosity. This was neither the time nor the place. His gaze dropped toward the battlefield below. With a sweep of spiritual sense, he realized that everything outside the seal had changed. The land was desolate. The eight-spirit ruler that once floated above the palace had vanished. The restriction woven by the Black Wind flag was gone as well. No wonder the seal had broken so easily. The earth was gouged with massive pits and claw marks 10 meters deep. Half of the palace lay in ruins as though shredded by some colossal beast. Han Li's spiritual sense brushed over the wreckage, but unseen restrictions repelled it. He gleaned nothing further. Still, he exhaled inwardly in relief. The pressure radiating from the devil ancestor had been overwhelming beyond measure. Had he encountered her directly, survival would have been doubtful. Yet the soul teleportation formation in the area remained sealed by the Black Wind flag. He would have to find another path to escape. His eyes wandered as calculations flickered through his mind. Fellow Taoist Han. Lin Yinping's anxious voice pierced through his thoughts. If you agree to rescue us, I will personally resolve the enmity between you and our endless sky temple. Han Li answered without hesitation. Resolve it. After you pursued me across lands and seas, I have no interest in helping. Brother Han, she pressed urgently. Do not forget we still have 3 other Grand Immortals. If Grand Immortal Shu and I perish here, do you think they will let you go? Han Li chuckled softly and cast another glance at the roiling sea of blood. Lin Yinping stood within it, wrapped in a shimmering silver-embroidered cloth. The cloth glowed brilliantly as it repelled wave after wave of ghost-fiend threads. But her face was as pale as frost. Clearly she was driving her treasure with a secret technique burning through her reserves. Grand Immortal Shu fared little better. Ambushed and grievously wounded, then trapped within the blood sea, he was nearing collapse despite the desperate resistance he mounted with his azure pearl and silver hook. Of the 3, the keen-spirit peacock was in the best condition. Though imprisoned within the lion hawk's rigid purple mist, it remained unharmed. Its golden radiance perfectly countered the hawk's assaults, neither gaining nor losing ground. Han Li's expression remained calm. Even if your words held weight, I would not intervene, he said evenly. To be frank, were you not already teetering on the brink of calamity? I might even consider taking advantage of your plight. As for your 3 Grand Immortals, let them come. I would not mind testing our abilities. After slaying the Elder Devil, Han Li had gained a clearer understanding of his own strength. With his humanoid puppet concealed nearby and Gui Ling at his side, he need not fear 3 late nascent soul cultivators. Moreover, it was impossible for all 3 to arrive at once. Should the Mulan learn that the soaring sky Grand Immortals were absent from the plains, they would launch an invasion without hesitation. With that in mind, Lin Yinping's threat carried little weight. Below, the white-haired refined corpse had initially been wary that Han Li might interfere. Now seeing his indifference, it relaxed. A harsh, inhuman laugh echoed through the air. Fellow Taoist Han is truly wise, the creature sneered. Since I have no intention of offending him, why would he aid trash like you? You may as well surrender. Han Li's face remained impassive, though disdain flickered within his heart. Earlier, while still inside the seal, the refined corpse disguised as Master Scatterwind had secretly released a thread of corpse chi. It had immediately alarmed the soul-weeping beast. Han Li had then noticed the silver-winged night fiend exchanging voice transmissions with Scatterwind. His spiritual sense surpassed even that of ordinary late-nascent soul cultivators. Though he dared not probe too closely for fear of exposure, he had gleaned enough. The refined corpse intended to join forces with the 2 demons and ambush the human cultivators the moment they escaped, and relaxed their guard. It mattered little to Han Li who lived or died. Thus he had deliberately lagged a step behind, allowing their trap to spring. He had no intention of playing a pawn in their scheme. Though he had never seen the white-haired refined corpse before, its aura and cultivation left little doubt. Venerable Corpse Xiong, a legendary figure among the great Jin demon clans, said to have survived for tens of thousands of years and cultivated into sentience. Myriad Demon Valley rivaled the High Zenith sect and the Heavenly Devil sect alike. That its leader would appear here disguised as a wandering cultivator was deeply suspicious. Indeed, one could question whether a vagrant named Scatterwind had ever existed at all. The concealment techniques Corpse Xiong employed were astonishing. Even Han Li had failed to pierce them. But that concealment came at a cost. His cultivation had been suppressed, allowing the nascent soul of the Ying-sifting sect elder to escape when ambushed by the Bloodblade. Han Li's gaze lingered on the churning blood sea and the monstrous figure presiding over it. A cold glint surfaced in his eyes. He had no desire to rescue the others, but he could not allow that crimson blade to gorge itself upon the blood and soul of a late nascent soul cultivator. If it grew stronger, it would inevitably turn against him. Even if the blade absorbed its victims swiftly, it would require time to refine their essence. That interval would be his opportunity. Better that such a vicious treasure fall into his hands than remain in another's. His lips moved faintly, voice barely audible. Beside him, Guiling's eyes shifted, though her expression remained serene. Below, Grand Immortal Shu suddenly roared, his voice cracking with urgency. "Brother Han, if you assist me, I will give you the secret of cultivating gold, devouring beetles to their final mature form." Han Li froze. An odd light flickered across his face. Lin Yinping's voice rose sharply in alarm. "No, that secret must never leave our sacred temple. How can we reveal it to an outsider so lightly? What use is a secret to the dead?" Grand Immortal Shu shouted hoarsely. "Would you rather be devoured by that blood blade and lose even the chance of reincarnation? If we perish here, the Mulan will seize this opportunity to counterattack. What is a trifling secret compared to the survival of our people?" Lin Yinping's face drained of color. She fell silent. Above the blood sea, Corpse Chiong saw the hesitation in Han Li's eyes and sensed danger. Without delay, the demon clasped his hands in a spell seal and poured his magic power into the crimson blade with frenzied intensity. The blade flared. Crimson light surged and coalesced into a massive ghostly face, its features twisted in malice. It opened its mouth wide toward the blood sea below. The waters churned violently. Wave after wave of blood collided and collapsed inward, forming a massive whirlpool that dragged Grand Immortal Shu toward its center, sealing off every path of escape. Cursing inwardly, Shu lashed out desperately with his azure pearl and silver hook. But a flash of crimson light shot from the ghost face's mouth. In an instant, a thin crimson thread bound both treasures fast. Shock flooded his eyes. The ghost face laughed silently, baring its jagged fangs. Then it plunged downward headfirst into the blood sea. Grand Immortal Shu's teeth clenched. Within his dantian, his nascent soul opened its eyes, ready to flee. If you loved this story, please consider supporting us through the donation below description. Your support allows us to keep bringing you the best and most immersive video. We truly appreciate you being here with us.